The Chargers picked Joe Alt at 5, and I even made a video about it just this week that this was my nightmare scenario. But then later on, after reports came out about JC Latham possibly being the pick at 5, that became my nightmare scenario. So Joe Alt, that definitely lessened the blow because I think Joe Alt is OT1 in this draft. But the reason that I did not want an offensive tackle, obviously everyone knows this, is because I wanted Malik Nabers if we did stay at 5. I think a lot of people were with me here wanting Malik Nabers. I'm not mad at the offensive lineman pick. I totally understand it, especially the way I'm looking at this, the way this first round went. It's crazy, man. The run on offensive linemen, specifically the tackles, because there was not really a single interior offensive lineman taken outside of Graham Barton, who went at 26 overall to the Bucks. But I'm just going here. Joe Alt at 5, we started it. JC Latham went at 7. And then after that, Olu Fashanu, Talize Fuanga, Amarius Mims, Troy Fautanu, Jordan Morgan, Tyler Guyton. I mean, those are some guys that we expected to go in the second or in the third round. So we just avoided having a terrible issue on the offensive line by being preemptive and getting Joe Alt, who is probably, in my opinion, from what I saw from him as a prospect, probably going to be a 10-year starter. And that's kind of lowballing him. I think he's actually a pretty safe pick. I feel pretty confident about him being a Pro Bowl player. I am not concerned at all. Seeing a lot of people very concerned about moving him to right tackle, or, oh my God, are we going to move Rashawn Slater to left tackle to right tackle? I don't think that's going to happen either. I think Joe Alt is going to go in and play right tackle. I think there was even a tweet that I saw while I was streaming, because I streamed the whole first round of the draft, that Jim Harbaugh said that the plan is to have Joe Alt at right tackle. I know a lot of people are saying, look, he looked uncomfortable. He looked awkward in that stance at right tackle when he was at the scouting combine. I don't really put much stock into that because this is a guy who is an extreme athlete. Little background on Joe Alt is that he was actually a tight end in high school all the way up until his senior season. His dad was a professional left tackle in the NFL for a long time, and he didn't play left tackle or any spot on the offensive line until his senior year of high school. He started playing left tackle, and then he was recruited to Notre Dame and started playing left tackle for 3 years at Notre Dame. Jim Harbaugh said he started out playing right tackle, or he took some snaps at right tackle at some point. It must have been in like a spring training or some kind of practice for them, because I went back in PFF and I looked at all of the snap counts. I did not see a single snap where he lined up at right tackle, but he did have some plays where he lined up as a tight end, like an extra lineman for Notre Dame. That's going to be a package that we're going to see with Jim Harbaugh and Greg Roman, having an extra lineman playing tight end in some short yardage situations. Bro, just imagine Gus Edwards in the backfield. You have Ben Mason at fullback, Justin Herbert under center. You hand it off on a 4th and 1 in a goal-to-go situation. Joe Alt is lined up at tight end with Rashawn Slater right next to him at left tackle. You just run right through those guys. You're getting that first down. You're getting that touchdown. That, I think, is the vision. Having Joe Alt and Rashawn Slater at the bookend tackles, and then once we get close and you only need about a yard to go, you can have that extra offensive lineman out there. I think probably Trey Pipkins might be the extra offensive lineman if we're going on the right side. You have Joe Alt stick at right tackle. I mean, there's just so many possibilities. Also, we have Will Dissly, one of the top blocking tight ends in the NFL. So that is the vision, obviously, with the running game, because Joe Alt is a mauler in the run game. I was expecting JC Latham, actually. I thought that they would have taken JC Latham over Joe Alt because JC is more of a mauler. He's a nasty run blocker. Joe Alt is more of a finesse guy. He's not going to be pancaking dudes as much as a guy like Talize Fuanga and JC Latham did. But I'm very happy with the Joe Alt pick because he's got the size, he's got the athleticism, and you're going to be hard-pressed to find a bunch of reps where Joe Alt did a lot wrong. I mean, really, he was technically very good in run blocking and in his pass set. He's got a really quick step back in his pass set. He gets a lot of depth very quickly. He's got really, really strong hands, a vice grip on dudes. I mean, he will not let go once he's got his hands on you, and he doesn't get called for penalties often, so he is a very disciplined player. He was graded as an elite left tackle 2 years out of the 3 years that he was at Notre Dame. And also going back to high school, he only played 4 years on the offensive line. Remember, every single time he was at left tackle, but that's not an issue, like I said. But out of those 4 years, 2 of those years he graded as an elite left tackle by PFF. I mean, that's just, he was 19 and 20 when he went to Notre Dame, especially at his age. He's 21 years old right now. So that means at 20 years old last season, he was an elite left tackle after only 3 years at that position. That was his 3rd year. And playing at that level of competition that Notre Dame was playing at, 20 years old. I mean, there's a lot to like here for Joe Alt as the player. Again, the reason it hurts a little bit is because we're passing on Malik Nabers. And you look at this wide receiver room, Justin Herbert, bro, who are you going to throw to? Justin Herbert just going to get batted balls down in his face and then catch the ball and run? Because, I mean, I remember seeing a meme that was going to be his best target, and it actually may end up being that way. I mean, we have Gus Edwards and JK Dobbins, but JK Dobbins is not a sure thing to be in this backfield because he might get injured. We don't really have a running back, tight end, or wide receiver weapon on this team right now. Really hoping that Quentin Johnston can bounce back. Also really hoping Joshua Palmer can have a resurgence, play well. He's a really good route runner. I don't think and he needs to stay healthy, but I don't think we have an X wide receiver, a wide receiver 1 on this team. I was getting some talk in the chat yesterday during the round 1 of the live stream of the Niners possibly trading either Brandon Aiyuk or Deebo Samuel, because both of those guys are available for trade, and they just took Ricky Pearsall at number 31 last night. So my thoughts on that are just kind of no. I wouldn't want Brandon Aiyuk because that dude is 26. He is not an X wide receiver, and he's about to get paid, like $30 million kind of paid. And then Deebo Samuel, I would consider more, but again, I just don't think he's that X kind of receiver. He's kind of like what we want Quentin Johnston to be. So having Deebo Samuel on this team, he's on a $70 million contract over 3 years. It would just kind of cannibalize the targets that we want to give to Quentin Johnston, because I think they would play the same role in this offense. What we really need is a wide receiver 1, somebody like Adonai Mitchell, maybe on day 2 of the draft. I'm doing this on the night of day 1, so I don't know what's going to happen on day 2, but this Joe Alt pick, they really are talking about establishing the run and protecting Justin Herbert, their best asset. And they're not just talking about it now, they are walking the walk, okay? This is what we signed up for. We can't be that upset that Joe Alt is the pick at 5. With all of these tackles going, we got the best left tackle available, and we're going to move him on right tackle because we have such an embarrassment of riches because we already have a franchise left tackle. We have 2 guys that can be franchise left tackles. This is a good scenario to be in. It just is. And also, I want to make it very clear, I'm not worried about him moving out to right tackle. Rashawn Slater is not going to be moving. He's not going to be moving into guard or anything like that. He's staying as the left tackle. I'm very, very positive about that. But I don't have concerns with Joe Alt at right tackle because he's so new to the position at left tackle, moving from tight end, that I don't think there's going to be any issue coaching him up to play on the other side. I don't think it's going to cause any issues really at all. And this is the main thing that I want to get across, because yes, Justin Herbert doesn't have any weapons and it is looking barren for him right now. But Joe Alt being the pick at offensive line, basically what the Chargers are saying, and like kind of stick with me because I might sound a little confusing here, but what the Chargers are saying is that if they protect Justin Herbert with a good offensive line, they give him the weapon, right? We heard Jim Harbaugh say that weapons, they include offensive line. That's the tip of the spear. That's what he said. But if they protect Justin Herbert with a good offensive line, the wide receivers, the tight ends, the running backs even that Justin Herbert throws to will be elevated to play better because Justin Herbert himself is a great quarterback. He can't really elevate the offensive line to an extent, because yes, you can elevate the offensive line with great quarterback play like we saw with Tom Brady in his career, where he's diagnosing extremely quick, really fast passes. Justin Herbert, he's going to be the guy who is elevating the receivers, not the offensive line. That's the path that they want to go down. And on top of that, taking pressure off of him so he doesn't feel the need to be Superman on every play. We're going to establish the run, and we're going to protect Justin Herbert when we need to establish the pass. So overall, Joe Alt at 5, not enthused about the pick, okay? But I can't make this clear enough. I love the player Joe Alt at 5. It's a bit rich considering Malik Nabers was on the board. Even Romo Dunze was on the board. I'd still like Brock Bowers. I wouldn't have taken him at 5. But Joe Alt at 5, I think it is a solid pick. I would give this like a B. I'm not overly excited. I totally understand the vision. And it looks even better because of the way this first round went with all of these tackles going really, really quickly. I still trust in Jim Harbaugh. I hope you guys too. I know I made a video saying this was the nightmare scenario, but the whole point of that video was that, yeah, that is the worst case scenario, and it's still pretty darn good. And now we are living in that nightmare, and it is pretty darn good.